Romantic and sensual story. Late nights in Manhattan. The city glowed beneath the Manhattan skyline as Elena stepped out of the rooftop lounge, the cool night air brushing her skin. She leaned on the railing, letting her thoughts drift until she heard footsteps behind her. Leaving so soon. It was Adrian, the charming executive she had spent half the evening subtly exchanging glances with. His voice was low, warm, and far too close to her ear. She turned, trying not to smile. "I needed some air." He joined her by the railing. "Mind if I steal a little of it?" The way he said it made her pulse skip. For a moment they just stood there, the wind tangling her hair, the lights of the city stretching out below like a sea of stars. Adrian's eyes lingered on her, not hurried, not demanding, just intensely present. "You looked amazing in there," he said quietly. "But out here, you're breathtaking." Elena felt heat rise under her skin. "You're dangerous when you talk like that." "Only with you." His fingers brushed hers, barely there, but enough to ignite a slow, warm thrill up her arm. She didn't pull away. The distance between them dissolved as he stepped in closer, his hand sliding gently to her waist. She felt the strength in his touch, the warmth of his body against the night breeze. Their faces were inches apart. "Is this okay?" he asked, voice rougher now. Elena nodded. "More than okay." He kissed her, soft at first, then deeper as she curled her fingers into his shirt. The city seemed to fade, leaving only the heat between them and the rhythm of their breathing. When they finally pulled back, breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "Come with me," he whispered. "Let's finish this night somewhere a little more private." She smiled, the heart racing. "Lead the way." And under the New York skyline, they disappeared into the night, hands intertwined, anticipation simmering in every step. The elevator doors slid shut behind them, sealing the two of them into a soft golden light. Adrian kept hold of Elena's hand, thumb brushing lightly over her skin as if he couldn't stop touching her, not even for a second. Neither of them spoke. The tension said everything for them. When the elevator chimed at the top floor, he guided her into a quiet hallway, stopping in front of a suite door. He paused, returning to her. "If you want to leave, tell me now," he said softly. Elena stepped closer instead, her fingers curling into his jacket. "Adrian. I followed you up here." His breath left him in a slow exhale, half relief, half desire, before he opened the door and led her inside. The suite was dim, lit only by the city lights bleeding through floor-to-ceiling windows. Manhattan glowed around them, as if the whole skyline had come to witness the moment. Elena moved toward the window, letting the view wash over her. Behind her, she heard Adrian's footsteps and felt the warmth of his presence before he even touched her. His hand slid gently along her arms, his voice low against her neck. "You're even more beautiful in this light." She closed her eyes as he pulled her back against him, the heat of his chest steady and strong. Her heartbeat quickened, there was no ignoring it now. She turned in his arms, looking up at him. "Then kiss me again." He did, slowly, deliberately, as though savoring her piece by piece. His hands trailed the curve of her waist, drawing her closer with a tenderness that only made the tension between them burn hotter. Elena's fingers found the collar of his shirt, sliding along the warm skin at his neck. He inhaled sharply, leaning into her touch. "God, Elena," he murmured, forehead resting against hers. "You make it impossible to think." "Good," she whispered, tracing his jaw with her thumb. "I don't want you thinking." His smile was soft but hungry. He lifted her gently, carrying her toward the bedroom as she wrapped her arms around him, their lips never fully parting. Every step filled her with anticipation, each breath a promise of the night waiting for them. The door closed behind them. The city lights spilled across the room, wrapping their bodies in a warm, glowing haze as the world outside faded away, and the night truly began. Adrian set Elena down slowly, as though he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. The only light in the room came from the city outside, soft golds, deep blues, streaks of neon that painted their shadows across the walls. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, fingertips lingering on her cheek. "You're trembling," he whispered. Elena swallowed, breath unsteady. "I've wanted this, more than I admitted." His eyes softened. "Then let me take my time with you." He leaned in, kissing her again, deeper this time, unhurried but full of desire. His hands framed her face at first, then slid slowly down her arms, drawing goosebumps in their wake. She arched into his touch without thinking, her body seemed to know what it wanted long before her words could catch up. Elena's hands explored along his chest, feeling the warmth beneath the fabric. She could feel the steady rise and fall of his breath, each inhale growing tighter, each exhale brushing her skin like a confession. Adrian drew her closer until their bodies were nearly flush, heat meeting heat. His lips left hers, trailing along her jaw, then lower, the faint scrape of his breath making her knees weaken. She closed her eyes, fingers curling in the back of his shirt. "Adrian." His name escaped her lips like a shiver. He paused, lifting his head to look at her. "Say it again." She smiled breathlessly. "Adrian." Something in him gave way then, a restraint, a patience, replaced by a deeper, more undeniable hunger. He kissed her again, slower but more deliberate, letting her feel everything he'd been holding back all evening. He guided her toward the edge of the bed, his hands at her waist, his forehead resting against hers as their breaths mingled. "Tell me what you want," he murmured, a voice roughened by desire but still gentle, still giving her the chance to lead the moment. Elena slid her arms around his neck, pulling him closer until their lips brushed again. "I want you," she whispered. "Tonight. I want you." He let out a quiet, shaky breath, like her words had snapped the last thread of his restraint. And with the city lights glowing behind them, he laid her gently onto the bed, joining her in the silver-blue shadows where the night stretched out before them, slow, tender, and full of rising heat. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the city below, a soft reminder that the world still existed somewhere beyond the walls. But in the dim glow of the skyline, Elena and Adrian felt as if they'd stepped out of time. Adrian lay beside her, propped up on an elbow, studying her face with an expression she hadn't seen from him before, gentle, almost reverent. "You look different," he murmured. Elena blinked, surprised. "Different how?" "Like you're not guarding yourself anymore." His fingers traced the line of her wrist, slow and tender. "I like seeing this version of you." She felt something warm bloom in her chest, deeper than the heat of the night, softer and far more dangerous. "No one talks to me like that," she said quietly. "Not really." "That's a shame," he replied, brushing his thumb across her palm. "Because you deserve someone who does." Her breath caught, not from shock, but from how true his words felt. She turned toward him more fully, their legs brushing under the soft sheets. "You make everything feel easier," she admitted. "Like I don't have to pretend." Adrian's expression softened even more, if that was possible. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his knuckles grazing her cheek. You don't, he whispered. Not with me. Silence settled between them, not heavy, but warm. A comfortable, intimate quiet where they shared the same breath and heartbeat. She rested her hand on his chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath her palm. He covered her hand with his, holding it there. Can I tell you something? She asked. He nodded, eyes never leaving hers. I wasn't planning on staying long tonight. I came to the event because I had to. But then I saw you. Her lips curled into a soft, shy smile. And suddenly, leaving didn't feel like an option. Adrian let out a low, tender laugh, leaning down to press a slow kiss to her forehead. I felt the same the moment you walked in, he said. I couldn't look away. She curled into him then, her head resting against his shoulder. His arms wrapped around her instinctively, like they had always been meant to fit around her. The warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart, the way his fingers traced small, soothing circles along her back, all of it melted her deeper into the moment. Stay with me tonight, he whispered. Not because of the heat, but because I want to wake up with you in my arms. Elena closed her eyes, letting the softness of his words sink into her. I wasn't going anywhere, she whispered back. He breathed out, relief and affection blending into a soft smile. They stayed like that, entwined, wrapped in each other, sharing quiet breaths and unspoken promises, while the city lights flickered gently around them. In the quiet between heartbeats, something deeper than desire began to settle between them. Something that felt dangerously close to the beginning of love. The room had settled into a gentle stillness. The night was no longer about heat or tension, it had shifted into something quieter, something that wrapped around them like a warm blanket neither wanted to slip out of. Elena rested her head on Adrian's chest, listening to the slow, steady rhythm of his breathing. He held her the way people hold things they're afraid to lose. After a long moment, he spoke. Elena, can I be honest with you? She shifted slightly so she could see his face. Please. He ran a hand through her hair, hesitating. I'm not good at this part. The opening up part. Me neither, she admitted with a small smile. He let out a breath that sounded almost relieved. But tonight. I feel like if I don't say this, I'll regret it. Her heartbeat quickened. Say what? She asked softly. He looked at her, really looked, like he was memorizing the moment before risking something fragile. I felt something for you from the moment we met, he said. Not just attraction. Something deeper. Something I couldn't explain. Elena's breath caught. He continued, a voice gentler than she'd ever heard it. You make me want to slow down. To pay attention. To stay. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with something she had been holding back for too long. Elena, he whispered, brushing his thumb along her jaw, you make the world feel different. Better. She lifted her hand to his cheek, her touch soft. Adrian. I've been alone for a long time. Not because I wanted to be, but because no one ever made me feel safe enough to be seen. His eyes softened. But you, she said, a voice trembling slightly, you look at me like you actually see me. And somehow, that doesn't scare me. It feels like breathing. The vulnerability of her confession made the room feel warmer, closer. Adrian pulled her into his arms, holding her with a tenderness that went deeper than attraction. He rested his forehead against hers. I'm not going anywhere, he murmured. She smiled, the real one, unguarded, warm, full of quiet relief. They stayed like that, sharing soft kisses and gentle touches that spoke of care, not urgency. Night slowly gave way to the pale silver of dawn as Manhattan's skyline brightened outside the window. Sunrise the morning after. The first light touched their faces as Elena woke to find Adrian still beside her, still holding her hand, as though he'd never let go. He blinked awake, smiling sleepily. Morning. She couldn't help but smile back. Hi. He brushed a thumb over the back of her hand. You're still here. Elena shifted closer, resting her head on his shoulder. Of course I'm here. Adrian kissed the top of her hair, slow, soft, full of promise. Good, he whispered. Because I want more than one night with you. She looked up at him. So do I. The simplicity of the moment felt like an answer they both needed. Outside, the city stirred to life again, but inside the quiet cocoon of the suite, they shared a peaceful morning, filled with quiet laughter, gentle closeness, and a new certainty settling between them. This wasn't just a night. It was the beginning of something real. Sparkle's complete story summary, for closure. Elena and Adrian meet at a Manhattan rooftop event where their instant chemistry pulls them together. A shared moment of attraction leads them to his suite, where the night becomes intimate, but what lingers is not the heat, but the connection. In the quiet hours after, they reveal their vulnerabilities. Elena admits she hasn't felt truly seen in a long time. Adrian confesses he's not used to emotional openness, but something about her makes him want to try. The night becomes a turning point for both of them, not something fleeting, but something quietly transformative. They fall asleep together and wake up still intertwined, choosing to stay rather than separate. Their story ends not with passion, but with promise. Two hearts finding comfort, trust, and a beginning in each other.